I watched this film almost 100% completely sober. It really felt like I was being led on, a psychedelic journey and some kind of very strange depths of existence. I find myself, I was really forced to question whether what I was witnessing was actually what was happening to your characters, or if it was just a fabrication of an unstable state of mind. I kept guessing where the reality of that insanity started and ending throughout. Now, assuming that that was your intention, what methods did you employ to ensure that that was a deliberate viewer response?
Yeah, it came down to it was there in the script. It was an intention in the script, so that you are positioned within exactly the same psychological space as the character is, and so you know what the character knows, and so that's a really good guide, for us as filmmakers, that to say, well, the main character doesn't necessarily know what's real and what's not, and so you don't necessarily know what's real and what's not. And then when we were editing, after we shot the film and when we were editing, we pushed that further. So we actually removed information from the edit. There's stuff that we shot that we took out because it was explaining things a bit too much. So we deliberately took things out. So there are more ellipses. It's a bit more abstract. There are more things that you have to try and work out for yourself rather than being sort of spoon-fed too much. So it was an organic process, and we just dared to go further and further as we were editing and testing the film when we were watching it back.
I thought that worked really well. Just the entire process of it as a viewer was very unsettling.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd love it if you could share what might have inspired your depiction of such a balancing act, because it certainly came across as a very personal story to be told through both Ella's perspective and perhaps yours as the director and writer of this.
I mean, the aside from the impulse to make a film about a stop motion animator, the other thing that that really inspired this film was experiences I've had when I've been making my own short films, where I had the sensation that the film itself took on a life of its own. And that's not true of necessarily only true of stop motion films. It's true of any art form, whether it be writing or if you're doing a painting or you're making music or whatever it is. If you're in a kind of creative sort of zone, there comes a moment where the thing that you're working on seems to take on a life of its own, and you're no longer telling it what to do. It starts telling you. It starts talking back to you, and it starts telling you what it wants to be. And I've had that experience, and that was the other element that fed into the story of stop motion, was that it's about somebody who feels creatively sort of suppressed by their environment that they grew up in with her mother. But then when her mother's out of the picture, she suddenly discovers her own creativity. But that creativity has a life of its own. She's not necessarily in control of it. It has its own agenda. And the idea was, which excited us, Robin and I, who I wrote the script with, the idea of the monster in the film is Ella's creativity in a way. It has its own consciousness and its own inner life.